FHA delinquencies are skyrocketing. 15.11% of all FHA mortgage purchase loans are now delinquent. This excludes the loans artificially brought current by placing the missed payments on the back of the loans. So remember how I said that the FHA program of the government paying for these people's loans and the lenders just adding the missed payments to the back of it so they're a perpetual debt slave? Remember how I said that's ending on April 30th? And there are 8 million homes that will go into foreclosure proceedings after that happens on April 30th. So this 15.11% of FHA mortgages in delinquency are not counting those 8 million homes that are already delinquent but the government is paying for. In Q4 2007, FHA overall delinquencies were lower at 13.05% versus 13.53% today. That is an insane figure. And so I'm wondering what this number is going to fucking explode into once that shit ends on the 30th. I'm wondering if there are any people who can actually afford these payments who have just been issuing them because they're retarded, instead of people who are just like, yeah, I'm just not going to pay since the government's paying for it. Probably 30%. I don't know if it'll go that high. I don't know if it'll double, right? Like, that would be catastrophic. But, like, how many of them were illegal aliens given cheap loans on fraudulent social security numbers? Also a great question. It's not you this time. You're worried about how mortgages will react? I see this only being a good thing if you don't already own a home. If you do already own a home, and especially if you purchased one at an astronomical price since 2023, how many homes is 15%? That's a great question. Next question. Please prepare your brain for the likelihood that they kick the can. Banks will increase rates and pretend they had to. If nobody's gonna buy a home, I don't know if they can increase the rates. That's not exactly what happened during 2008 either. Thank you, VA loans. I'm not gonna get fucked, praise. Actually, the VA loans were suffering from the same exact thing. Much like the FHA loans, VA loans were given out to people, and I think it was something like 400 or 500,000 houses under VA loans were doing the same thing as the FHA loans, where people weren't making payments, and the VA was paying for their mortgage payments. That is going to end on May 1st, one day after the FHA program ends. Come on, Orange Man, get the Fed to drop the rates. We have this fun thing. Fannie Mae fires over 100 employees for unethical conduct, including the facilitation of fraud. Today, the U.S. Federal Housing Finance Agency, the U.S. Federal Housing FHFA, and Fannie Mae issued the following statement. In President Trump's housing market, there is no room for fraud, mortgage fraud, or any other deceitful act that can jeopardize the safety and soundness of the housing industry, said William J. Pult, chairman of the board of directors of Fannie Mae. Since my swearing in, we fired over 100 employees from Fannie Mae who we caught engaging in unethical conduct, including facilitating fraud against our great company. Anyone who commits fraud against Fannie Mae does so against the American people. I would like to thank Director Pult for empowering of Fannie Mae to root out unethical conduct, including anyone facilitating fraud. We hold our employees to the highest standards, and we will continue to do so, said Priscilla Almodovar, President and Chief Executive Officer of Fannie Mae. And now this is cool and all, right? Why were they just fired? I feel like if you find out that someone is committing fraud, and especially fraud with American tax dollars, there should be more repercussions than just simply being fired. And it feels like this is why nothing ever happens, because we never know the names of these people who are committing fraud. They never get arrested. They never face actual consequences for it. They just are part of a number in a press release that says they got fired. And I feel like that does a disservice to absolutely fucking everyone. Same with corrupt police or politicians. They just get to resign. Yeah, it's like, it's absolutely insane to me. And I feel like something more should definitely be done. Which, like, I haven't looked it up. What happened with the FBI? What happened with the FBI supposed to be giving all of those fucking Epstein files to Pam Bondi? And she was like, oh, the FBI didn't do what I asked, so like you guys are gonna have to get it on my desk by Monday morning. And then Monday morning came and passed, and I didn't hear anything else in the fucking news cycle. What's going on with that? Why are they still giving the FBI leeway here? I don't want to hear about people getting fired for fraud. I want to see consequences for these 100 employees. Because if there's no consequences, they've been able to commit fraud for how many fucking years? And they have like a nice little parachute to leave with? Why are they being rewarded for this behavior? But Kirsche, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Yeah, I don't give a shit. I can't afford to see an eye doctor anyway. There was this white kid who got murderated by this black kid because I guess the white kid was like, hey, you're sitting in the wrong seat. And then he got stabbed. Which, you know, it's been kind of crazy to see how many people have started like statistics posting over the past week. Like even fucking Matt Walsh came out and started posting statistics, and I'm like, what timeline am I living in right now? Everything revolving around this is infuriating to you. It really is. We get the like blessed to say I won linebacker of the year, team MVP, love team and family, faith in God. You know, just like I would say this is normal for teenagers to post on social media. I feel like most teens aren't posting about like faith in God, as it were. And then I guess they had these posts from this guy, and I think one of these posts was like a day before the murder as well. Intentionally brought a knife to a meet, loitered at the tent of a school he's not from, and when told to leave, stabbed a kid who should have had a long life ahead of him. Yeah, absolutely. We have the father of the 17-year-old accused of stabbing Austin Metcalf to death says his son is a good kid and was not the aggressor. I'm so fucking tired of hearing that, man. Like, just once, can we not have the, like, he was a good boy terminology, man? Everyone has already made their assumptions about my son, but he's not what they're making him out to be, Andrew Anthony said. Anthony said his son's action was a heat of the moment. He's a good kid, he works 2 jobs, he's an A student, he has a 3.7 GPA. He was not the aggressor, he was not the one who started it. 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony has been charged with first-degree murder, and Austin Metcalf's father said his son was killed after a student from another school got upset when he was told he was sitting in the wrong spot.
Him go away when they were doing CPR on him, but he was there when he was stabbed, and he was holding, I guess, the wound to keep it from, he was trying to save his brother. But I think he said he saw when he took his last breath and before the CPR came back in. So for what I heard, he was unresponsive for 5 minutes. They were able to revive him a little, but I think it was too little too late.
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move. Austin grabbed his backpack. This kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest. So yeah. Just that's just what I saw. And I try to help him, but.
I feel really bad for this kid as well, because I can only imagine the like level of mental scarring that you're going to have from watching your brother like die in your arms, right? Like, and this is why, like, I understand you guys when we were talking about like hate crime stuff before, and how like it just shouldn't exist at all. But personally, I get very incensed when I see shit like this, because whenever it's something like George Zimmerman, who's not even white, or someone like Kyle Rittenhouse, you have to suffer through like months, if not years, of people telling lies, and people telling like a false story of what happened. It doesn't matter how they got exonerated. Everyone's just like, this is systemic like white supremacy, and you know, we need the hate crime charges. This was a hate crime that these black people died. And it's like, I'm sick of it, man. I'm absolutely sick of it, that it never goes in the opposite direction, where you have some guy who, like, kills a white person and everyone's like, oh no, we can't, hate crimes are wrong, actually. So it's just like, yeah, sure, maybe we shouldn't have hate crimes at all. Maybe you guys are right about that, because it was just subversive fucking nonsense in the first place to sort of create, like, a protected class of people versus a not protected class of people. But personally, I'm kind of sick of seeing hate crime charges not be brought in instances like this, because I think they absolutely should be. And if that's something we have to deal with in current year because it's not going the fuck away, why should I not want the hate crime charges to be brought? What is this? Par for the course, police told my wife and I that our son was in the wrong place at the wrong time while he was sleeping peacefully in his bed at about 2:30 a.m. This is from 2023. Gabriel Brown killed Austin Sawyer while he was sleeping in Texas State University. A judge recently sentenced him to just 90 days in prison. If I speak, I will be banned. So we're just gonna smooth on past that before I say things that get me banned.
They made him go away when they were doing.
Oh my God. The father of Austin Metcalf on Fox News just moments ago says the killing of his son by a black murderer wasn't a race thing, and says the killer just made a bad choice.
I want to clarify something right off the start, because I've already heard some rumors and gossip. This was not a race thing, and this is not a political thing. Please do not comment if you do not know what happened. Do not turn this into a racial thing. It was not. Do not politicize this. It's not. This is a human being thing. This person made a bad choice, and it affected both his family and my family forever. I want to.
Now, my dad's not a cuck, so I know this wouldn't happen if I got murderated. But if I got murderated and my dad came out and was just like, we need forgiveness right now. We don't honor the memory of my daughter by getting mad and wanting revenge on the people that I would become a hateful spirit, and I would haunt him until he killed himself, because that's the death that he would deserve at that point. Because, like, how the fuck do you have someone you love taken from you, much less a child, and then you get on national fucking news and you give all of this, like, pity party bullshit to the person that killed him? I would be out of my fucking goddamn ghost mind, okay? What is this? This guy continues. Left-wing lunatics have utter contempt for the racists that would have saved their children's lives while empathizing with the murderers who took them away. You know, I completely forgot about the whole Molly Tibbetts thing as well. And I have, the chilling words teen told cops after allegedly stabbing Texas football star Austin Metcalf, who died in his twin brother's arms. The teenager accused of fatally stabbing Austin Metcalf and leaving him to die in his twin brother's arms at a high school track meet allegedly admitted to the senseless killing, but claimed it was in self-defense. I'm not alleged. I did it, 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony chillingly told police in Frisco, Texas, as he was being arrested at Kuykendall Stadium, according to an arrest warrant. The horrific stabbing was sparked when Anthony, who was sitting under the team's pop-up tent as it rained Wednesday morning, was asked by Metcalf to move, and Anthony refused, according to the arrest report. Anthony then unzipped a bag, reached inside, and told Metcalf, whom he'd never met before, "Touch me and see what happens," a witness told police, according to the document. Moments later, Metcalf grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony pulled out a black knife and stabbed Austin once in the chest. This is interesting that he says, "Touch me and see what happens." Chat, do we remember what happened to the dumpster rednecks? To the rednecks who had guns and were talking to that guy who was like, "I'm gonna kill you," and then they were like, "I doubt it." Do we remember them and how that was ruled not self-defense? Anthony ran away before he was chased down and arrested. "I was protecting myself," Anthony allegedly told cops. "He put his hands on me." He also then asked cops what constitutes self-defense and whether Metcalf would be okay, according to the report. Metcalf, a junior at Memorial High School outside of Dallas, suffered a stab wound to the heart and died in the arms of his identical twin brother, Hunter. It was really under 30 seconds, the altercation, Hunter told WFAA in an emotional interview. I never met this kid in my life. My brother stepped in and said, you need to move, Hunter added, and Anthony's like, make me move. All of a sudden, he grabbed his backpack, the brother said. I already forgive this person, holy shit. Do I need to remind you there's a branch of the DOJ called the Community Relations Service that gets the families of white victims of racial murders to publicly disavow a racial motivation. Did the CRS do its magic here?
The sad part about it is he died in his brother's arms. They were twins, identical twins. And his brother was holding on to him, trying to make it stop bleeding. And he died in his brother's arms. And I rushed up there, and I saw him on the gurney. And I could tell. They said he wasn't breathing. I could see all the blood. I saw where the wound was.
Understandably still in shock, Jeff Metcalf says a precious memory was made just this past weekend when he took his twin boys hunting. That's where Austin got his first hog. Well, this morning at around 10, he rushed here to Kirkendall Stadium, where the Memorial High School student athlete suffered a fatal stab wound during this track and field meet. Frisco police say a fight broke out between two students when one stabbed the other. More than 100 student athletes were participating in this meet. Fortunately, they were safely evacuated. Police arrested the suspect. He is 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony of Frisco. He is now charged with murder. Some students, unfortunately, witnessed this deadly encounter and have been interviewed by police. Despite life-saving efforts, the 16-year-old victim died at the hospital. Austin, his father shares, was born 2 minutes before his twin brother.
Stabbing isn't really a fight.
The two inseparable, as you can imagine. Austin is being remembered as an outstanding student at Memorial High, his football team's MVP, and a young man of faith. His father grappling with loss and forgiveness.
I'm not trying to judge, but what kind of parents did this child have? What was he taught? He brought a knife to a track meet.
Well, you're getting dangerous here, sir.
Stabbing in the heart. The guy was in the wrong place. They asked him to move, and he bowed up. This is murder. I don't know. I know they have someone in custody.
Yeah, we do.
And you know what? I already forgive this person.
Already?
Already. God takes care of things. God's going to take care of me. God.
And this is why no one takes Christians seriously in current year. When I think of a Christian, I don't think of like the mighty crusades. I think of like some impotent soy cuck forgiving the murderer of his children. That's what you look like to people in current year, Christians. Before you start trying to like fuck over people's entertainment and video games, maybe stop having people invoke the name of Christ to be a cuck on national television.
I'm going to take care of my family.
The victim's father says these two teens did not know each other before today. We do need to stress that police have not said what they believe led up to this deadly encounter. There is a prayer vigil tonight at 7 p.m. at Hope Fellowship Church right here in Frisco.
Look at his eyes. He isn't saying what he believes. He wanted to say something else but couldn't. Yeah, that's what I'm going to get into in a second. It's just like, why do you think that Christianity is allowed to be the whipping boy of everyone, and yet if you make any comments about any other religion, oh, you don't want to get fired, do you? You don't want to get banned, do you? Believe God forgives all, and he will forgive me too for what I'm about to do, this crime, what he should have said. Oh my God, too many Christians use forgiveness as an excuse to absolve themselves of the responsibility to act against evil. And I think a lot of them also fall into that like ideological alignment trap where people who don't believe in Christianity and only look down on Christians will be like, well, this is what your thing says, and so that's what you should be adhering to, isn't it? And Christ himself lost it on the money chargers in the temple. It's time for Catholic punishment. Especially can't criticize, good men who do nothing. So, Mr. Eggman here was talking about the Community Relations Service. And if you haven't heard of what that is, here's the website. Community Relations Service at the U.S. Department of Justice. Our mission is America's peacemaker. For over 60 years, CRS has been America's peacemaker. CRS responds to communities experiencing conflict and violence to help restore peaceful relations. Guided by federal laws establishing jurisdictions, CRS assists communities through facilitated dialogue, mediation, training, and consultation to overcome differences and build the skills needed to prevent future disputes. All CRS services are confidential and provided free of charge to the communities that voluntarily request or accept CRS's assistance. CRS is not an investigatory or prosecutorial agency and has no law enforcement authority. CRS works with all parties to develop solutions to conflict and serves as a neutral, impartial party. Oh, and they got a little video here. Listen to that inspirational corpo slop music.
Community Relations Service, also known as CRS, is an agency within the Department of Justice. CRS was authorized under the 1964 Civil Rights Act and also the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act in 2009. CRS provides 4 services: facilitation, mediation, consultation.
Of course it was the 64 CRA. Who else would it be?
Law enforcement authority. Also, we're neutral. We're third-party mediators. Our services are free. And so we really are able to help communities when there is conflict and tension.
We address conflict and crisis on the basis of race, national origin and color, gender identity, sexual orientation, disabilities, and religion. CRS has 10 regional offices across the country and 4 field offices.
Oh,
and a
in Boston,
office
eh?
in Washington, D.C. Any community that is
Oh, look, it's the lady that spoke to the father.
CRS can provide services there.
We bring a set of expertise, a set of skills, a set of connections, and a brand name based on our work since the 1964 Civil
A brand name. What a weird thing to say for a government office that's only one letter off of critical race theory.
Rights Act and the trust of communities for us to be able to do this work effectively and impartially.
We bring people together who have differences and they're looking for a way to get to yes.
Conflict is natural. You know, it's going to occur. And
it's part and parcel of living in a large city, chat.
Probably getting worked out most of the time. If it's unmanaged, people go to a dark place.
Being able to implement the collective wisdom of the stakeholders and being receptive.
The stakeholders of the government agency? There's so much in this one video.
To the tools that they bring and the insights that they bring is very important.
We work with law enforcement agencies. We work with local officials. We work with community organizations, school districts when tension and conflict arises.
We reach out to organizations, establish those relationships, and we get that phone number.
We have to offer them something that they can actually use. So you got to be able to get folks to believe in you, and then you've got to deliver those outcomes.
We do the work at the pace
of the
community to harness the creativity of the parties and to come to a solution.
I was about to say I'm halfway through this video and they haven't exactly explained what they're doing, and now they just invoke the work. Interesting. Your tax dollars equal 34 deaths in custody plus $443 million. Audit the sheriff. Okay, all right.
Implement an intervention that really they create.
They didn't get to the point of a conflict overnight. They won't get to a solution overnight. But no matter how long it takes, CRS is there to serve.
You've got a very special responsibility. The lives of people, both present and future, are impacted by what you do.
The mission of CRS is one that will suck you in. When you can actually get on the ground and help somebody, there is no better feeling.
Coming to CRS is just so rewarding. You never do the same thing every day. The communities, they appreciate everything that you do.
It is something that's new.
Discuss with a different neighbor. Do these statistics seem consistent with what you observe in your community? How do Muslim Americans contribute to the fabric of your community? Who are 3 famous Muslim Americans? Malcolm X was Muslim, right? I think that's the only one I can think of. I think that's literally the only one I can think of. Malcolm X left Islam? Okay, so he was a former Muslim. Technically Muhammad Ali. That's a brainwashed cult. Don't come to Jesus, come to CRS, these people. Hassan Piker, that Khalil guy, and Muhammad Ali. Oh yeah, that's true. I guess Hassan is Muslim, isn't he? Muhammad was also pro-racial segregation. Wow. I'm shocked. Malcolm X left Islam and you believe was killed shortly after. Correct you if you're wrong. I don't remember all that much about Malcolm X. He left the Nation of Islam and he became a real Muslim. Oh yeah, Nation of Islam is like... They're like the black cult of Islam in the US. They had a cults and extreme beliefs episode on them. Does Yaqub count?
Every day, and something that a young professional can stay with for a long career.
The best part about working at CRS is the people. Everyone has a passion for the work that we do.
The work.
Many people here at CRS have worked here for many years. It's testament to how much passion they have for the agency.
Or the fact that they were given basically free paychecks to be in a job that has no business existing and maybe should just be shut down by Doge, honestly.
I see a greater need for CRS than ever before. The same skill sets are still that we can do. Bringing people together who I think want the best for their communities.
If you have a passion for helping the underserved, if you have a passion for...
Hate's continuing its toll. Despite the tremendous gains of the civil rights movement, hate and discrimination are still deeply entrenched in our society. In its most extreme form, hate continues to claim the lives of those caught in its path. Every year, people are still being killed because of the color of their skin. Well, I mean, that's true, but usually those ones who are killed, you guys are there to teach them forgiveness instead of actually caring about the people in their lives who have been murdered. Or because of the characteristics like their religion or sexual orientation that make them seem different. In a number of places around the world in recent years, ethnic and religious differences have triggered deadly campaigns of genocide. For every victim remembered here, there are many others who have lost their lives to hate. That's crazy that we have an entire, arm of the government whose sole purpose since its inception has been to push propaganda and to brainwash people.
For building stronger communities, helping people to see that their differences can actually be their strengths. This is a place for you.
You can be the next generation to help make a difference in America. All you need is a commitment to make a difference in this country, and we'll help you get there. And I promise you, you'll never regret it. We can make this happen. So what do you say?
Oh, they have a Twitter account, the DOJ CRS. Make what happen? Yeah, they did not explicitly explain what their work is. They just said that their work was good and facilitated community relations and was necessary. Did they say what they do? Nope. No thanks, I'm happy where I am. If you drank every time you started noticing during a Kirsche stream, I'd be shit-faced every stream. Well, please don't do that. Please don't do that. That was our inspirational video, taken in March 16th, 2020. Oh, it was during the Summer of Love. Or I guess before the Summer of Love. Propaganda works, though. New poll shows 55% of leftists think assassinating Elon Musk is justifiable. That does not surprise me. Hello, Nux. Hello, Nux, dude. It does not surprise me that there's... Actually, it's a little surprising that only 55% think that. I'm gonna be real with you. Especially considering how many people were like, yeah, assassinating President Trump would have meant that our Nintendo Switch cost slightly less money. When you have, that kind of, people talking about things like that, I don't know, it seems like things are a little crazy. 55% admit they think that? True. That's a fair point. 55% admit it. How many more are thinking it, but think maybe I shouldn't say it out loud? At least another 30% are hiding it. Yeah, some people understand maybe they can't say certain things out loud yet, you know? So we have Title 10 of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, signed by President Lyndon Johnson, established the Community Relations Service with the mandate to offer conciliation assistance to communities where disputes, disagreements, or difficulties threaten peaceful relations among the citizens of the community involved regarding discriminatory practices based on race, color, or national origin. Yeah, that's true. This is definitely necessary because, you know, whenever there's a wrongful murder of a white person, white people just riot all over the place. Like, we've lost billions of dollars in infrastructure and small business because white people just, they can't resist. They have to perpetuate violence if something slightly bad happens to them. The Fair Housing Act of 1968, also signed by President Johnson, built upon the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and mandated the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development to work with the CRS to further its activities in preventing or eliminating discriminatory housing practices. The FHA was amended in 1988 and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan to add concrete enforcement measures to HUD's complaint process and provided additional protections against unfair treatment in housing. After all of the stuff that I've done on like Bridge and whatnot, whenever I see unfair, the first thing my brain does is, but was it actually? Like, I know things definitely were far more racist and worse back in the day, as it were, but were things actually unfair at this point in time? Were these things actually needed? Were they convinced to be pushed through to be eventually subverted by the people who wanted this in place to push something different than the actual stated goal of the president who originally wanted it in the first place? I don't know. Life's not fair. Anyway. To address a sharp rise in attacks on place of worship, Congress passed the Church Arson Prevention Act of 1996 to remove legal barriers to prosecution for violent interference of religious worship and damage to religious property. Signed into law by President Bill Clinton, the act directed additional resources specifically to CRS to bring together communities affected by arson, firebombing, and other forms of hate-motivated attacks. Okay, but like, where were they when people were vandalizing churches by drawing swastikas on them and trying to pretend it was like white people doing that? What, you know, it took them until 1996 to sign this into law. Is that why old women are sent to jail for praying in front of abortion clinics? I know. In 2008, the Emmett Till Unsolved Civil Rights Crime Act. What? Was signed into law by President George W. Bush to allow for investigation and prosecution of unsolved civil rights era homicides. Bro, what the fuck was Bush doing, man? That crime was pretty well solved to you. I am just incredibly confused. You're sharing a brain cell with that what? I was like stun locked for a second. CRS received funding under this law to work with law enforcement agencies and communities affected by those homicides. In 2016, the Emmett Till Act was reauthorized and signed into law by President Barack Obama. The 2016 text expanded the scope of investigation and mandated CRS to continue to bring together law enforcement agencies and communities to address tensions raised by civil rights era crimes. I could not imagine going like into the Bronx today and be like, hello, you need to repent and feel bad about these things because, you know, there was this one murder in the 1960s that potentially could have been stoking really, really high hatred in this community towards you since then. Is this just like a way that they can sort of legally rewrite history to be what they want it to be? Like, this is actually insane. Crime's at least 50 years old. Good luck when modern murder has a 50% solved rate. The Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act of 2009, also signed by President Obama, expanded the federal definition of hate crimes and increased funding for CRS to prevent and respond to alleged violations of this act that cause, threaten to cause, or attempt to cause bodily injury to persons protected by the statute. something kind of like a father whose son was just murdered, and you have to tell him he can't say anything bad against the guy that murdered his son, right? Something like that, maybe. Obama did nothing right. I'm just surprised to see that George Bush and Obama agreed on something. Like, the uniparty is more real than I ever thought, man. Any crime committed against a protected class is automatically a hate crime. It's a little crazy. It's a little crazy. But just in case there are some people who are unaware of what CRS is, since the Eggman brought it up during the father's apology, I thought it pertinent to also bring it up. Thousands of people in the black community have rallied around Carmelo Anthony and given over $160,000 to his family as a reward for murdering a white kid. And I saw Kirsche tweet about this Give, Send, Go campaign as well, where he was like, if you're against debanking, you should be against debanking for anyone. And so, like, this is other people's money and they can do with it what they want, which he has a point. He definitely has a point. But when we get to the point of, like, rewarding murderers if they murder the person of the correct race, that feels a little strange. That feels a little odd to me. And especially whereas a ton of, like, crowdfunding sites wanted to not allow crowdfunding for Kyle Rittenhouse, which was quite literally cut and dry defense, and he didn't even shoot anyone of a protected class, unless you want to try and claim pedophiles are a protected class now. Like, when that was a problem, but we have to absolutely adhere to our principles in this matter, that seems a little twisty to me. That seems a little like, yeah, normally I would agree and I would say, like, you know, it's their money, they can do whatever they want with it, you know, it's like, I don't have to pay attention to this. But when you can get de facto rewarded for murdering someone if they're the right race, that seems odd to me. That seems like maybe I shouldn't allow you the benefit of my principles, maybe. But something about this, just like something with talking about hate crimes in current year, just rubs me a bit of the wrong way. Like, I don't know how hypocritical that makes me, but just something does not seem right, man. Of course someone in the comments is fucking comparing these two things. There's a massive fucking difference. Like, even when you watch the Kyle Rittenhouse footage, one of the men who walked up to him with a gun drawn backed away and put the gun down. And even in this heightened adrenaline state, Kyle also put his rifle down until that guy lifted his gun again after seeing that Kyle let his defense down and was going to let him go. And then Kyle shot back. That would have been a crazy fucking state of mind to have for an adult. But the fact that he was able to have that much, like, clear mind in that moment is still impressive to me. This tweet has been shared around a bit as well. Has a legal defense fund been set up for Carmelo Anthony yet? I'd like to contribute if there is one. And someone asked, if it was a white kid killing a black kid, would you donate? And they said no. And, like, I don't blame them for saying no, but it makes me wonder, why isn't there this kind of tribalism? Like, has it been so beaten out of people that, like, you just glow if you say the same thing? No, Kirsche, they just hate you and want to destroy you. Never forget, when we win, these people want you broke, dead, your kids raped and brainwashed, and they think it's funny. The mask has never been more off. Can't we all just get along? That would be nice. That would be nice. Social media is valuable, if for no other reason than this. It's revealing that the attitude towards race aren't just different from nearly every other group, they're the exact opposite. Justice for Carmelo Anthony, who is a victim of white supremacy. Private group, 7.5k members at the time of posting this. It's interesting. Have you seen the chart showing views of other races by race? Yes. Yes, it's like that like care blot graph thing, where, like, conservatives tend to care more about, like, their immediate family and friends more than, like, outsiders, but the leftists are, like, the complete opposite. Yeah. Sadly, no, we can't. Some people want to prevent that at all costs. White guilt is a very powerful tool, apparently. Killed a white kid, victim of white supremacy. He's a victim of white supremacy because people want repercussions for him killing a white kid. You know, that shouldn't be the case. He shouldn't have repercussions, right? Chauvin, Penny, and Rittenhouse can have a GoFundMe, but not this black kid. How do they not understand the difference? How do they not understand the difference? I'm like, in the beginning, right, when the Chauvin case was going on, I could have been like, yeah, maybe there's a point. Maybe there's a point, because, like, maybe he was doing something wrong. I don't know police procedures. But then the autopsy came out and basically exonerated the fucking guy. So, like, at this point, I don't really know what kind of point they're trying to make. And bringing Daniel fucking Penny into this, who was literally doing what should be, like, celebrated by a society, protecting innocent people regardless of race. In a healthy society, Daniel Penny would not have been dragged through the mud or the court system. He would have been hailed as a hero protecting average people. We are a sick society, unfortunately. Chris Brunet, I had never heard of this. I had never heard of this case. Chris Brunet, winner of the inaugural 2024 Manhattan Institute Logo Fellowship. I don't know who that is. I don't know who this guy is. A white kid gets killed and the whole damn world stops. Fuck that white motherfucker, said Seth's killer, who pled down to manslaughter. This is my most popular article ever, and I'll turn it into a thread. Seth Smith was a double major in economics and history at UC Berkeley. He was only 19, but a third-year student, scheduled to graduate next spring at the age of 20. He must have been very smart. He was a beautiful and brilliant young guy who had everything going for him. His dream was to attend graduate school at the London School of Economics, which all could be true. I kind of like tune out a bit when I hear overly flowery language, like praising someone in an article, because it's like, if there's overly praising language, what are they trying to, like, obfuscate potentially? So I wish they would just, I don't know. It's just something I guess I've been tuned to. Maybe there's nothing here, but it's like, I don't know. At 10 p.m. on June 15th, 2020, almost exactly 2 years ago, Seth went out for a walk. On this walk, he was shot in the back of the head, execution style. His body was found half an hour later by a man walking his dog, sprawled on his back with one of his earbuds still in his ear, indicating he was listening to music. Here's a picture of the bus stop where Seth's body was found. Unfortunately for Seth, nobody cared about his murder except for his mom, who was tweeting about it. It was not a national news story. There's some tweets from his mother. This is back in 2020. Again, I had not even heard of this case. I'm frustrated. My son Seth, an innocent college student, was taking a walk down a street in Berkeley when he was killed execution style. No reason. His murder was June 15th, and there had been little to no outcry from the university, the community, or the media. It appears we live in a culture that has so much gun violence that a 19-year-old college student, innocently walking down the street from his apartment near Cal, shot in the back of the head close range, barely makes the news. Seth Smith was a kind, brilliant man. Seth was to come home for the rest of the summer today. Life can change in an instant. I just want him to walk in the door and give him a hug. I'm so lucky to have Seth as my son. He was a phenomenal human. His mind was astounding. His heart was pure. I miss him so much. This year I've broken out in random tears more than ever. Missing Seth is hitting me harder than ever. I think it's a little silly to blame this on gun violence. Seth's dog, a 14-year-old border collie, has cancer. My husband just decided to put her down today, exactly 1 year after Seth's murder. I'm sick of death. Seth was in my dreams last night, just opened my iPad after a while. It was open to the last text with Seth and said, your text was undeliverable. I miss him. 18 months ago, my exceptional son decided to take a walk in his college town. It's like, she's been tweeting about this for fucking ever. And again, I never heard of this case. Here's how Berkeley administrators reacted to Seth's death in probably the most evil fashion I could imagine. They invoked George Floyd, making Seth Smith and also ran in his own obituary. This is a quote. Many of you may have had a close relationship with Seth and are feeling a sense of loss and disbelief. Others, like many of us, are experiencing stress, grief, and anxiety related to the coronavirus pandemic and the recent murders of George Floyd, Rhea Milton, and other Black Americans. Sincerely, Carol Christ, Chancellor, and Stephen C. Sutton, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, as well as Sonny Lee, Assistant Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students. That is insane. When you, as like a white kid, can get shot execution style, and people at your university are just like, you might have had a close relationship and so you're kind of sad, but many of us are dealing with grief and anxiety surrounding George Floyd, someone we also don't know and have never met. I'm gonna put my head through drywall. When confronted by a producer for Fox News, Berkeley admins doubled down on their Black Lives Matter virtue signaling. I'm sorry that our desire to acknowledge and empathize with what folks are feeling rubs you the wrong way and didn't realize that there is some sort of rule stating that only one tragedy should be acknowledged in a given campus message. Signed by Vice Chancellor Mogilov. That sounds like a fucking boss name in World of Warcraft, dude. Gonna go fucking beat up Mogilov for some pauldrons, man. This is like one of the most callous ways I could have ever imagined someone responding to a murder in this manner. So much butthurt in this message. And like, this is where I'm just like, how do you fix this? How do you have conversations with these people that so deeply despise you that they can say things like this, not just publicly, but in like official university messaging, and not feel an ounce of, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, right? Like, all I could think of is the Austin Rathu, or however you pronounce his name, being like, you can't lie next to rabid dogs, and it's like, how do you go back to being any kind of country that has like trust in the people around you? There's no consequences for it. Eliminating consequences for specific people has had dire consequences. Who precisely are the you and the us in this statement? Imagine how tone deaf you have to be to say many of you may have cared about Seth, but many of us only care about more important stuff, like a felonious drug-addicted porn star in Minneapolis who OD'd on fentanyl while resisting arrest. What do they mean by porn star? Is there some Saint Floyd of the fentanyl lore that I have missed? Did I miss something? Sorry, what? Porn star? Hold on, I gotta fact check this in real time. Somehow there's an article on the National Review about George Floyd and trauma porn. How Spike Lee's semiotics of death created millennial icons of George Floyd and Eric Gardner. The only time I've ever heard the word semiotics was with interior semiotics, and so whenever I read that word, I just picture a small mentally ill woman stuffing her vagina with SpaghettiOs and then pissing them out on a canvas while a whole bunch of people look on in just like confused states. We aren't a serious country. Joe Biden's commemoration of George Floyd marked the 1-year anniversary of trauma porn? The video of Floyd's fatal arrest, still controversial despite a continuous trial, is credited for kickstarting the global spread of the Black Lives Matter movement under the guise of moral outrage. Under the guise of... That's a little on the nose, isn't it? Even the Oscars praised Darnella Fraser's amateur cell phone video of the incident as a landmark, equal in significance to Hollywood's own productions. Fraser's recording of a black American male's actual death, endlessly broadcast by mainstream media, facilitated the progressive political animosity to which Biden owes his presidency. But those images also became the emblem of modern race consciousness and threatened to redefine contemporary art. A black man was just murdered and we're very angry. Better elect an old white guy. Yes, that makes perfect sense. To be fair, given the quality of most Hollywood movies these days, someone taking a phone video is about the same. Floyd's prone body and Officer Derek Chauvin's agitated facial expression, images without a backstory, projected familiar yet unexamined race and class differences. It provoked brand new American imperialist guilt that everyone is cowed by. That explains the video's illicit thrill It's prurient and obscene, and its mortification has been taken up by news media for everyone to see, repeatedly, and thus abuse themselves, self-righteously. It's trauma porn. What? What am I reading? This is not what I was looking for, but this is just as confusing. Can these people do anything other than self-report? They're retarded. This is anti-Floyd. It might be anti-Floyd, but the way that it's written is written in such like a fart-huffing way that you almost can't tell the difference. The Los Angeles Times addressed the subject of trauma porn in an April 19th, 2021 article on recent violent movies and television programs featuring brutalized Black Americans. But one of the best demonstrations of trauma porn came from Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, when on April 20th, following the Chauvin trial verdict, she praised the late George Floyd in a phony religious allegory. Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life for justice. I remember watching this and being incredibly fucking confused at why she would say such a thing. Pelosi's comment about sacrifice officially making drug abuser felon Floyd into an American martyr did exactly what craven movie and TV producers do. It was a calculated reworking of the trauma porn impulse, unaccountably supported by Eleanor Holmes Norton, the Black congresswoman from D.C., standing by to lend approval to Pelosi's race exploitation. Art-conscious politicians might well consider another trauma porn landmark, the one-year anniversary of Spike Lee's Three Brothers, released at this time last year. Running 1.5 minutes, the short film uses disturbing visual rhetoric, intercutting the Radio Raheem chokehold scenes from Lee's fictitious Do the Right Thing from 1989. With the public domain cell phone videos of George Floyd and Eric Gardner's arrests, in the same way that Lee's Chirac totally bungled the black-on-black gang killings in Chicago, Three Brothers jumbles together unrelated social events and public protests. Lee oversimplifies the obvious, immediate responses to his own imagery. Lee's gloating agitprop also sullies the title of Francisco Rossi's 1982 familial masterpiece, Three Brothers. This is just about the type of propaganda that was propagated in the aftermath of the killing of St. Floyd of the Fentanyl, I suppose. Like, the beginning of this article was just really crazily written to me. Do the Right Thing is a good movie, though. It's worth a watch. Anyone remember Hands Up, Don't Shoot? I mean, people still say that today. Man, Spike Lee's production company is named 30 Acres and a Mule. Dude's that much of an open race hustler? Or huckster? And careful, people might think that you're using really outdated racist language that I didn't even know was racist. His name is Sir Floyd. Oh no. Well, I still have no conclusive evidence of whether George Floyd did porn or not, so I'm going to assume it's some kind of internet hoax until there is proof otherwise. Until there's proof otherwise. The only other thing that came up was like a YouTube video with 1.7k views, and like, I'm not going to believe that, man. That's not a good enough source.